Buenos dias. I was going to say good morning. And I'm wrong. I shouldn't be saying buenos dias. I should be saying buenas tardes. I'm forever messing that up. Glad y'all are joining us today. We're going to be talking about teaching English online, particularly in Latin America to Latin Americans. I know that when people talk about the opportunity to teach English online, generally, the largest market obviously is China, and in particular, children in China. So if you've had interest in maybe teaching English online, but you were not enthusiastic about the idea of teaching Chinese children, I understand. I was not enthusiastic about that either. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, Thank you all for being here. If you are here, go ahead, say hello in the chat. Um, we are joined today by Miss Candice, who you are a certified teacher in the United States.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And how long have you been teaching?
This is my 7th year teaching in total.
Okay. Now, you currently live here in Mexico City. How did you end up here?
Actually, I was living last year. I was in South America, in Colombia, and I decided I needed a change. I needed a different environment, different situation. So I actually applied for this school that I'm at. Well, the current my full-time job where I'm at. In like late February, early March, towards the end of hiring season, and I just got lucky. And so the rest is history. I'm here and I love it so much.
Okay, so we'll start off talking about how you lived in Colombia. Now you live in Mexico. How do they compare to each other?
It's honestly, sometimes I tell people it could be night and day almost, especially as a black woman or black expat as well. I know a lot of people they think that, oh, in Colombia they have so many Afro Colombians, I'll fit right in. And that's sometimes not the case. And then when you compare it to like locals and like you think about the class system, sometimes you don't really feel as if you're a part of a community or part of something. Versus here, while you don't physically see Afro Mexicans a lot, you have a lot of foreigners from all over the world, the Caribbean, African countries, uh, all over. And I actually feel like I'm a part of something now. I feel like I have made friends. I talk to people, even like locals. I feel like I'm actually making true, genuine friendships with people in general, and just the environment. It feels so much more welcoming here.
I wonder if that's the nature of Mexico and Mexican culture is you can't come here. I can't think of anybody I have spoken to who said they came to Mexico and they felt unwelcome. They did not, get kind of pulled into the community. So I wonder if that is something that is unique about Mexico, or I don't know.
It could be. And I always tell people, I feel like with a lot of Mexicans, not every part of Mexico, of course, but I know specifically Mexico City and other areas with high foreigners, they've been used to us for so long. And I'm like, maybe that's why they're like, okay, they're more open, they're accepting. So I like, it could be a difference with Colombia where it just started being more open to others and tourism within the past 20 something years. So that could be it. I'm not sure, but I do love it here.
Okay. Good morning. Not good morning. I don't know why I think it's morning. I went to bed really early last night and ended up getting up about 1 a.m. So, and then I went back to sleep. So my time is off, y'all. So, hey, everybody. Charity, Janella, Nadine, thank y'all for joining today. Now, if you are watching this and you have questions, whether you're watching right now live or you're watching on the replay, go ahead and drop your questions and we will do our best to get them answered. Questions about life in Mexico or teaching English online. Now, you mentioned, and I mentioned as well, you are a certified teacher and you do that for your day job, but you opted to start teaching English online kind of as a side hustle. Why?
I think for me, COVID, boredom, lockdown, you're like, what do I do with my time? And it's actually funny. One of my friends, because at first I was against working extra jobs. I said, no, 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 I did that in the States. I don't want to do that abroad. But my friend was like, no, Candice, you have to try this out. It's super simple, super easy, and it's zero brain power in like this job. So I said, okay, I'll try it out. I'll see. And if I don't like it, I could always stop working there. But honestly, the requirements, I don't want to say the effort, but like the access and then just the students and it's so much easier. I don't have to go out and find my students either. That was my concern. I know a lot of the Chinese companies, like you have to, like they have to request you. You have to kind of recruit yourself. But here, I just log in. The students are given to me. I teach my lessons, and it goes on. And so I love that it was zero effort, and I still get to do what I enjoy doing, and I'm assisting and supporting others.
Now, when you worked extra jobs in the US, was that just because you wanted to, or was that to make ends meet?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it was to make ends meet. I would say I didn't want to cut into my salary check more like when I wanted to travel or when I wanted to do something fun. I rather have just, use the side money for that. And then I sporadically decided to buy a brand new car for my birthday. And I was like, okay, because I was going to quit because I was burnt out. I was tired. But I said, oh, wait, I have this car note now. So I need to start putting money towards that. So for me, it was like, okay, if I don't have this job, I'm not going to have that much money left over to enjoy life and do other things outside of work and food and bills.
Okay. And how do you, it sounded like you kind of already answered this. Like when you were in the US teaching full time during the day and then doing a side hustle versus you are teaching full time here in Mexico and now you do this on the side. Would you say you're as tired and as stressed?
Not at all. Because when the States, I would work, you have to have a minimum of, say, like 4, 6 hours in a shift. Versus this job, the hours are minimum like 2 hours. So I could literally just hop on 2 hours and be done. Right now, especially, you have to have a minimum of 16 hours a month. So when you think about 30 days, I only need 16 hours. Okay, I can spread this around. Maybe it's towards the end of the month. I'm not quite at 16 yet. Okay, let me double up and pick up a shift because that is a cool thing. I can drop shifts, I can pick up shifts, and it's so simple and easy. So I do like that. Okay, I'm tired. Let me see if I can drop this shift. And okay, I need more hours. I'll go and pick up with someone or trade shifts. So it's super simple and I don't feel tired or this is exhausting. I don't feel exhausted at all.
All right. So Nadine wants to know for this particular company that you work for, because as we mentioned before, a lot of the big names that if you're in the different groups and you talk to people about teaching online, their focus is China, because China's got the most people. They've got tons of young people who want and need, or their parents think they need to learn English. And the requirements vary. For this company that you work for, what are the requirements?
Yes. So the requirements to work at the company I'm at, you need to at least have rewind. You need to at least be enrolled in a university, have a bachelor's degree, a TEFL, or if you have a degree in a TEFL, that's even better. But those are the basic requirements. They would like if you have some experience working with children or adults to some capacity. So, and also the most important thing right now, they're being very specific. The past couple of months, they've been wanting people who are living in Latin America because their thought is the kids might have a better connection to you. You might have a better connection to children. They'll feel more comfortable. Now, the adult side of it could be separate, but I know when I do tell my kids, I live in Mexico, or if they are in Mexico, oh, I live in this part. So they kind of build a connection with you. So I think that is what their main focus is right now. They might change that, but right now they want people who are in Latin America or are planning to transition and move to Latin America.
So, if you are currently enrolled in a university and you have a TEFL, you can work for this company.
Yes, or if you're just enrolled in a university program and you don't have a TEFL, you can still apply.
Okay, so there aren't a lot of companies that will allow you to teach English and not have a degree. Is there a requirement about like how many hours you need to be enrolled, or you just, or you don't
So
know?
for the hours, you need to have at least 4 hours on your schedule for the week. Now, you don't have to work 4 hours every week. Like for me, for
No, I mean
example.
like how much you're enrolled in the university.
No, it doesn't have a requirement, a minimum
Okay,
or a maximum requirement. No.
okay. And I assume they want native English speakers.
Yes, yes, I forgot to say that. So they are specifically looking for those who are US or Canadian native English speakers. Or say, for example, if you weren't born in the US or Canada, say you were born in some other part of Latin America, but your family has ties to the US or Canada, then they are still interested in you as well because you have that tie to the US or Canada and you do have that native language.
Okay. So if I live in Texas, can I
Mhm.
work for this company, or do I need to live like in what we traditionally consider Latin America?
So they want you to be living in Latin America. Now, if you are in Texas and you say are planning to move to Mexico, Nicaragua, Brazil, or anywhere in Latin America, they will look at your application because they see that you are in transition to a Latin country.
Okay. Okay. Charity had a question. She is retiring military, um, and she does not want a 9 to 5. Do you determine your own hours?
Yes, so you determine your own hours. So for me, I work full time during the week, so I have my hours on the weekends. I have just I meet the 4 hour minimum. You can add more to that if you want. You can have as low as 4 hours or as high as 48 hours. So you can have a lot of flexibility within that.
48 hours in a week?
48 hours in a week. And there are some people who try to do more because they want to make this like their full-time career job.
Okay. All right. Um, I think we answered Jennifer's question. She has an associate's degree, she's native, and she has a TESOL.
Yes.
Uh, so I think you would be good, Jennifer.
Yes, because the fact that she has a TESOL, even though she doesn't have a bachelor's, you do have that TESOL so that it does qualify. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this company, at least right now, really is focusing on people who are living in Latin America or transitioning to Latin America. You don't need a degree. You get to, you need a minimum of 4 hours a week. And you get to decide where those 4 hours go
In your
in
week.
the week.
Yes, they do have certain prime hours they would like for you to work, say, for example, weekends or afternoon or evenings, because those are kind of hotspot hours. So, say, for example, if you only want to do mornings, I think you might have to at least start at 12. So, it's not really technically a morning shift, but you do have to at least have the minimum of 4 hours on your schedule. Now, as I mentioned, you can, say, for example, drop. So, drop shifts. And so say I have 4 hours scheduled for this weekend, but I don't want to work them. I can still drop them as long as I meet my 16 hours at the end of the month. That's all they care about.
Are you penalized for dropping those hours?
You're
Like,
only penalized if someone doesn't pick them up and you don't make the shift. So say for example, if I want to drop a shift for today and no one picks it up and I don't go to that shift, then you can get like a warning or a penalty. But if I drop it and someone picks it up, it's no longer my concern. It's no longer my worry.
okay, all right. Now, you mentioned when we kind of first started that you are not having to go out and hustle up students because I I very briefly taught English online to Chinese adults, and it can often when you're black, it can often be a disadvantage if the system is set up where it is the teacher's responsibility to pull people in, especially when you're dealing with the Chinese. I don't know if that's less of an issue here in Latin America, but I know that can be a concern because when, you know, globally, when people think English speakers, they think white people. Okay, so you don't have to do that. How do you get students?
Honestly, so when it comes time for me to do my shift, say I start at 10 o'clock in the morning, I log in at 9:55, I sign in, I click the attendance button, and within 3 to 4 minutes, they give me my lesson that I'm going to teach and they tell me how many kids I'm going to teach. So, and it can range from a private class with one student to the max is five, but I don't even know who my students are until I start my class. So I can see their names, but I don't know who they are until I start my class.
Is there ever a situation where like you've scheduled, I want to work Sunday morning
Mhm.
and no one signs up for a class?
So that's happened to me, I want to say once or twice. It has only been for private classes. And so, say, for example, I have a private class scheduled and the kid didn't show up at all. I still get paid for that time. So I
Okay.
just have to wait in the chat, I think, for 15 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, and then I can sign out. Now, there has been times where I have been scheduled 4 students or 5 students, and only 2 or 3 showed up. I still get paid for that time. Even if they don't come, I still get paid for that time.
And you said the max number of students you have in a class is 5.
It's 5, yes.
Okay. Do you now did you choose to teach children?
I actually, when I applied, I told them I was open. I said I'm open to children or adults, and I was selected for the children's section. So I think there might be a higher need for children from what I've been observed, because especially with COVID, many of the kids aren't in school right now. But they do have a need for adults as well, because I have recruited someone and he was hired specifically to work for adults.
Okay. Um, we had a question. I think I know the answer to this. Sharon wanted to know, would they accept native British English speakers?
Well, I've heard mixed reviews. From what I have been notified, I think they specifically want you to have a US like or Canadian accent. Um, I haven't personally seen anyone on the platform that was a British speaker, and I actually even try to refer a friend. Um, I'm not sure. From what I've observed, maybe if you might have a neutral accent, they might accept you. But I know they say, from what I've heard, the British accent is varies from the US, of course. So teaching could be different with certain words or certain verbiage. So I honestly can't give you a solid answer for that. Even when I tried to reach out to them, I wasn't given a solid response, but they kind of repeated themselves US or Canadian. So I think that's what they're predominantly geared towards, to be honest.
What was the hiring process like?
Um,
Um,
so the
like,
high,
did you have to submit a video of you teaching? Because I will be honest with y'all, I taught for 20 years, and anytime somebody was like, "Yeah, you need to make a video of yourself," I was like, "Okay, never mind."
Yes, I understand. Actually, no. So the application process, it was first you had the basic questions. They asked you where you're from, where do you live, your experience, your certifications, and then if you are accepted into the next round, that's when you have, I think, 3 or 4 video responses, and it's the cool thing I do like about it is you respond to the video, but if you mess up, you can redo it, and it's not like a some places they only give you 2 or 3 tries. If I kept messing up, I could try again. So I think the questions are pretty simple too. 1 or 2 of the questions they did ask you to respond in Spanish, or how would you respond to a student? But it was very basic Spanish, very basic re- responses like, oh, how would you explain this to a child if they asked you a question in Spanish? So it was super simple responses, and it wasn't you didn't need to be a fluent Spanish speaker to understand the question or respond as well.
Okay, so you fill out the application, you do these video responses, and then what? That's submitted, and you have to wait to hear back from them?
Yes, and you hear back. So they say you will hear back within like 5 to 10 business days if you are accepted into the program or into the company.
Okay. Now, the thing that everybody wants to know is what's the pay like?
So yes, the pay varies. It varies on the time that you work of the day or the day of the week. Pay could be up to $13 an hour right now. It has been discussed that they are potentially going to increase the pay, but they are a lot of bonus incentives, and that's what I really do like the most. Is say for example, like right now, I think I'm at on the weekends I make around $12 an hour, but if I have a bonus incentive, I could make an extra $2 or $3 on my added pay. So those bonuses do help a lot.
Now, if you are in the live right now or you are watching this on the replay and you're thinking to yourself, $13 an hour, what is it? VIP kid, 20 something. Y'all, if you teach English face to face here in Mexico, a lot of people pay like $5, $6 an hour. That doesn't even include transportation and the time it takes you to get where you're going. So, something to remember, especially if you're thinking about moving abroad, is you've got to shift how you think about like what is an acceptable amount of money to make. Okay, because think about it. If they're hiring people who live in Latin American countries, those are people with Latin American cost of living. Okay. And I can tell you there aren't a lot of people teaching English on the ground, like face to face, who are being, at least in Mexico, it may be different in other places, but in Mexico, people are not making that. So I just want to add that there because I know, especially people coming from the US, we think about, well, this is what I make in America, and I want to make this amount or more elsewhere. Y'all, when I moved to Honduras, I took a 60% pay cut and still was able to save half of my little teeny tiny salary I made in Honduras so that I could take off work for a year afterward. So
I agree because even for my main job, coming from Houston to here, I took almost half a pay cut. Definitely is about probably a little bit more. And I actually saved more money here than I did in Texas. And people are like, how? You make half the money. I said, because the cost of living is super affordable and super cheap.
So what was I going to say? Okay, so there are bonuses. It is, pay is kind of related to what you're bringing to the table, as with any job. Mm-hmm. Now, somebody asked about curriculum. Oh. Do you have to provide any curriculum? Do they? How does that work?
Yes. So that's another reason why I love this company, because the fact that they provide everything. Say, for example, you look at the lesson plans right before the kids come, you want to change some things or add, of course, do that because you want to make sure that the students are taking away the most information and they're able to process it. So they create everything. We can make tweaks and adjustments to it.
So you don't have to create your own lessons. They're doing that for you. They've already figured out these kids need to learn this thing. So you just have to basically show up and teach.
Exactly.
That's not too shabby. Especially if you've done any teaching, you know, like that's the easiest part of the job. Okay. What is the name of the company that you work for?
Yes. So the company is called Latin Hire, and that is the company that you apply for. There, who pays you and everything. So I know some people they go through a program and then they're like, but I get hired by this company and this company pays me. But no, Latin Hire hires you and then they pay you as well.
Okay. And what currency does Latin Hire pay in?
They pay in US dollars. So you can have them send you your money to your US account or your Canadian account. But also, if you have an account in your host country, they can convert it into the pesos or reals or whatever the currency is. They can convert it into that and send it to your host country bank account as well.
Okay, so in the comments, I just put Candice's link. Oh, here, let me try that again. Now, if I want to teach English online to people in Latin America and I use your link, how is using your link better than just going to Latin Hire and applying there?
Yes. So if you typically apply, so when I applied, I did the regular website process, and it takes them between 5 to 10 business days to get back to you. If you use my personal referral link, they review your application is made as a priority, and so they review it faster than others. So it could be taking 2 to 5 business days now versus the long extended process.
Okay. Now, Textile Lady had a question about a visa. Because that's just it. They are not providing a visa, but you happen to be in Mexico because of the work visa through your 9-to-5 job.
Yes.
Based off of what I know of the visa process, you could come to Mexico on a tourist visa and work for a company outside of Mexico online, and that be allowable on a tourist visa.
Yeah.
But Latin Hire, with that's the beauty of online teaching. When I taught for that Chinese company, they didn't care where I was, but I couldn't be in China. Because if I was in China, then that became a visa issue for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so this company, you're an independent contractor. So it's not like you don't have to do any W-2s for them or anything like that. You are an independent contractor.
Okay. Kiki wants to know, how long are each of the classes or sessions?
Yes. So the sessions are 25 minutes, and then you have 5 minutes to do their evaluation. So it's a 2-hour, the minimum is 2-hour blocks. You have 4 sessions in each block. The sessions are 25 minutes with a 5-minute evaluation period, and then you do your next one. It's repeated. So 25, 5, 25, 5.
Okay. And are you paid for that 5 minutes? Is that counted as part of a class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to ask, but it left my brain. So we'll ask Janelle's question. Previous teaching experience, how strict are they about that?
So you don't necessarily have to have a previous teaching experience, especially if you have the TEFL. They know that you have gone through the process of like learning how to teach English to a child or to an adult. But if you do have like experience working with just children or adults in general, that experience does count. Like you have to learn how to communicate with them. And you can talk about all of that. Like in my day job, I did this, this, and this with adults, or this, and this with students. So you don't have to have necessarily been a teacher, because the people that I have recruited and that have been hired, none of them had teaching experience at all whatsoever, but they did have experience working with either children or adults.
In some kind of capacity. So it sounds like as long as you can help them make the connection between your experience and doing this, that'll be a bonus. But if you don't have experience, but you do have a TEFL, it sounds like you could still be hired.
Yes, highlight all of your experiences, even if it's just a degree without a TEFL. Highlight experience, like, oh, I helped assist children with this, or oh, I helped adults with that. Just highlight all of your experiences and just, make yourself look very presentable.
Okay. What other questions do y'all have about teaching English online, specifically with this company in Latin America, or living here? Most of the guests who've come on my channel have been closer to my age. Candice is like my daughter's age. God. I hate to even fix my mouth to say that. So if you're curious about a perspective about living here from somebody younger, or somebody who has lived here in Mexico and has lived in Colombia as well, ask your question. Jennifer wonders if she could work for this company. She's not based in Mexico yet.
So if you are planning on transitioning to either Mexico or another Latin country, you can apply and state that, like, I am in the process of transitioning or moving to this Latin country. So yes, you can do that. Just make sure you emphasize that I do want to transition and move there, or I am planning to move.
I have plans. I'm scheduled to be. So
yes.
Play that up.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Kiki's got is it Kiki? KK? I'm not sure. You got a good question though. Are you teaching students in the same age group for the group sessions?
So the group sessions vary. So for me, I work with students, well, the little ones. And so I either have 8 to 10-year-olds, or I have 11 to 14-year-olds. And between 8 to 10, they could be a variety of different ages. Same thing with 11 and 14, they could be within that age bracket. So you can sense the maturity with the two differences as well.
Because am I about to ask the same question? No. Okay, so what about their level of English? Are they at least kind of at the same place with their English ability?
So all of it varies, honestly, because I've had the 11 and 14-year-olds who did not speak as well as my 8 and 10-year-olds. So you have 3 different levels. You have your beginner, intermediate, and your higher, advanced. So say you have an 8 and 10-year-old group, but they're higher advanced. And then you have an 11, 14-year-old group, but they're beginners. You're having to do a lot more explaining. Maybe they're asking you questions in Spanish because they might not be sure. But like I mentioned, even if your Spanish is not fluent, because mine isn't, you can sense and get and understand what they're saying. And sometimes they write you a message in the chat, which is, I love that even more than when they're speaking sometimes, because their microphones are not sometimes the greatest. But yes, it varies between the levels.
And these are video classes?
So they're all on Zoom. We have to keep our cameras on, but they don't. So they can have their cameras off. It's just they have to know, okay, when it's time for them to speak, they come off of mute, they speak, they respond. But everything is done on Zoom.
Okay. How long did it take from the time that you applied to the time that you were hired?
So for me, my process actually went pretty quick. I've heard it varies between people, but I think I applied on a Tuesday night. I heard back Wednesday morning on my application, and then after I did my video, which was the second part of the interview, I think I received an acceptance like the same day or the next day. So mine went pretty quick. But I think it's also because, as I mentioned, they have a very high demand with working with students right now, and I do have that experience. But I've had some friends who have it's taken them the 5 days or 10 days to hear back. So I think they're just trying to find, like, where can I place this person?
Okay, now I'm gonna ask this because I bet somebody is wondering it, but they don't want to ask. But I'm gonna ask, how animated are they expecting you to be?
Oh my God.
Because I already know this is why I'm not cut out to teach small people because that's not my thing.
Honestly, and I tell people it's funny because I like, if you look at the videos online of VIP kids and all, like, many of the Chinese companies, they are super animated. I don't have to be like that at all. And I think that's what I love because it doesn't feel natural to me. So of course I'm like, congratulations, awesome, great job. Like, I kind of like try to hype them up and make them feel good, but I am definitely not super animated where I'm drawing pictures and happy faces and smiling faces. Like, no, I
Do you use props?
no props. I've heard of some teachers using them, but you don't have to use them at all at all. And I
Mhm.
think that's what I like, is I don't have to be so animated.
Okay. Now you are supposed to work 4 hours a week because the minimum per month commitment is you've got to be able to agree to 16 hours a month.
Yes.
Now, are you going to continue to work with them through the summer?
Yes, I'm actually going to continue working with them through the summer. I have put the cool thing, I have put my request days off when I do plan to travel. Like, I'm not working during these times. But I do plan to continue working with them. It's a super easy job. It's super simple. I think that's why I haven't left the company yet, because I consider it sometimes like, oh, okay, I think I'm bored with this now, but I do enjoy it, and it's very easy money. I think that's why I say it's because the money is easy, and it's just extra money for me at this point. At first, I accepted the job out of boredom because of COVID, but now I'm like, okay, I like this little extra money, and it's US dollars versus me, because I do get paid in pesos.
Yeah, no. And that's one of the things that makes what a lot of us are doing geo arbitrage. You live in a lower cost country, but you earn your money in dollars because those dollars go further. Um, how What's the situation with taking the time off? Because like the Chinese company that I worked for, they got in their feelings real quick when I was like, I need, this big chunk of time off.
Honestly, I haven't had any issues. I did ask them, like, what's the process, or what's the requirements, or what am I allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do. And pretty much from what they explained to me, how I base my schedule, the days I know that I could potentially work, if I don't want to work them, I let them know. I think they say a month or at least a couple weeks in advance. Um, and I told them the dates I want off. And their only stipulation is, if you request those days off, you cannot go back and work those days. So if I request off May 24th and I'm like, oh, wait, I think I want to work this day. No. Once you request it off, you can't work the day. But it hasn't been anything where I'm penalized at all.
That's fairly reasonable. The Chinese company that I worked for a hot 5 seconds, they were like, no, this is you get X amount of days per year that you were allowed to ask off, and you had to put that in so far in advance, and it was a whole thing. I'm looking in the comments and I see y'all. Yeah, you wanted to know. Y'all wanted to know how animated you had to be, because I know that is a big turnoff for a lot of people who would probably be really successful or really enjoy teaching English
Right.
online. That can turn people off. Um, there was another question. Oh, um, Esther, I'm not sure. Do you mean with this company, Latin Hire? Um,
So the minimum, off the top of my head, I cannot think of the minimum, but I know those who work early hours during the week, like say those 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock people, I think they get paid the fewest. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I know if you work the afternoons or evenings along with the weekends, you get paid the most. The weekends get paid the most out of any of the days because those are high volume hours. But out the top of my head, I cannot think of the minimum. But if you do message me, I can try to find that information out.
Okay. I will try and find that out for y'all and post it here. Is there a lot of competition to work those hours that pay more?
Honestly, no, it's not a lot of competition at all because if anything, when I go on the system and I go to pick up a shift, sometimes you will see all these different people that might have dropped it. So it's never like a competition of, I really wanted to work that shift. Like there's always someone who's probably dropping a shift because they picked up a lot of shifts and they're like, I can't do this, or I'm sick, or XYZ is happening in my life, but there's never a competition.
No, because I was wondering if there were like only so many PM slots, so many slots on the weekend that they were like, okay, well, these are all gone. So even though you wanted to work your 4 hours on Sunday, there are no spots for you.
No, it's never that situation, honestly. And say, for example, those who request a lot of hours, like they want their 30, 40 hours, say if they didn't get it, like their availability was 48 hours, they only were given 40, they can still go and pick up shifts. There's always someone dropping a shift, especially those evenings and those nights and the weekend shifts, they get dropped the most, honestly. Even though they pay the most, they get dropped the most because
well, yeah, because people want to go out.
Yes.
People don't want to work on the weekend.
And that's what they pay the most.
Yeah. There's several questions over here that ask if you can speak a little bit more about the bonuses or incentives.
Yes. So the bonuses and incentives, it varies by week. Sometimes they post it in advance. And from what I've observed, the bonuses is when they have a high volume of students and they don't have that many teachers able to work. So they try to incentivize, like saying, hey, we'll give you extra $2, $4. I've even seen $6 if you pick up a shift between these times on these days. And I've noticed because I'll go on like the shift schedule, I'm like, why is this day so important? You have so many teachers dropping shifts, but you might have 50 kids register. So they have more kids than they have teachers. So that's when they try to incentivize teachers to pick up shifts.
It sounds like if you've got flexibility in your schedule, you can definitely maximize what you earn. Because I've seen you post like, look at all this money to be made. Look at all these extra shifts, or where they've sent you an email and said, hey, we're going to pay bonus if you pick this up. So it sounds like if you've got some flexibility, you can definitely make a little money there.
Yes. And that's why also they're trying to incentivize with increasing the pay, because I think with COVID, they're realizing kids aren't going back to school anytime soon. So we need more people. So they're even trying to incentivize like upping the early morning pay and the afternoon pay because they want more people to pick up those shifts.
Okay. Charity had a question. She said, is teaching English supplementing your income even if you don't work many hours?
For me at this point with this job, I use this money for like my travel money. So of course, yes, I get paid in Mexico, like in pesos, but when I travel, like I don't want to travel with pesos at all. So, and I also don't want to go into my main money that I have from the States either. So for this, like I have it sent to my US account and I use that money when I'm traveling, because then I know like, okay, I'm not seeing a decline in my main money. I'm not seeing a decline in my Mexican money at all. So that's what I kind of mainly use it for.
I will say a good place to travel with pesos is Cuba. Because when you convert US dollars to the Cuban currency, they ding you because you're using US dollars. I rolled up in there with pesos and was like, this is great. I didn't even have to, like change my money to come here. It was great. It was great. We've got, because I have somewhere to be in a little bit, we've got about another 10 minutes or so. So if you've got any other questions, please drop them in the chat. If you're watching this in the replay and there's something you missed or something we weren't clear on, please ask that as well and we will get it updated. Lisa wants to know, how often are you relying on your Spanish when you're teaching?
Honestly, not often. And you will have some sessions where you didn't have to translate in your mind or translate for a child at all. I've noticed it more in my beginner classes, very seldom in my intermediate or high. If I do have it in my high classes, it's like, teacher, como se dice, and they'll ask a word. But I'm like, I understand it because it's focused on that page. So even if I'm like, okay, I don't know what this word is exactly in my head, because as I mentioned, their microphones are not the greatest. I kind of make an idea of based off of what I've been explaining or teaching. In my beginner classes, I get it a little more where I have to explain something, or I have to take what the curriculum.
But are you explaining it? You're not explaining it in Spanish.
I'm not explaining Spanish because they want you to still stick to English. So if I do say something in Spanish, it's very minimum. Like, oh, like today my kids, some of them didn't understand 15. So like, teacher, como se dice 15? I'm like, oh, 15 is 15. And they're like, ah, okay. So it's very minimal, very minimal.
Okay. You are considered an American employee, yes? Because, okay. So, of course, as an American, she is subject to U.S. income taxes. And if whether or not you have to pay income taxes abroad is a question, I have another video on the channel. I will put that in the description. It is, do I have to pay income taxes abroad? And the answer is maybe, probably. But to answer Ms. Vice's question, you are considered an American employee. You said you're basically a contractor. Now, in Mexico will expect you to pay taxes on income you earn from Mexico, from the Mexican people. So if you are, let's say, you run an Airbnb, Mexico expects some tax money there.
Right.
Okay, hold on, y'all. I don't think, Leslie, I think we haven't talked about this yet. How often do you get paid?
Yes, I get paid once a month. And so, say for example, with May, at the end of this month, it'll close out. They'll send me a notification saying, okay, they'll give you like a spreadsheet of this is how much you made this month. Always check it and document it. I haven't had any issues where my money has been off, but I've had people in a company saying, oh, I was missing a couple of hours. So always track your hours, but they send you the spreadsheet. They say if you agree or if you have issues, email us right away. But usually after you get that email, the next day or 2 days later, the money is sent to your account.
Okay, so there's not a specific day of the week. It's more about the end of the month.
I think we always get paid on the 15th, if I'm not mistaken, the 15th of every month, I believe.
So in theory, for May, you would get that money June 15th.
Yes.
Okay. And that is something, if you've never worked abroad before, getting paid once a month is very common. And so, yeah, you learn to adjust your budgeting. Anything you want to add about that?
Honestly, yes, because luckily my main job, like I use that for my main money, but I know I have had friends who depend on this monthly budget. And I know some schools in the States do that. So you kind of have to know what you're getting paid, plan out your bills, and okay, this is my play money afterwards. So if you do want to use this as kind of like your main source of income, definitely take like that check, pay your bills first, and then like, okay, this is what I can play with after that.
Okay. We had a really good question here. How is your teaching evaluated?
Yes, so that is a really cool thing, and that's how you can move up on the step process because there are 3 steps. I get evaluated once a month, and the evaluation is based off a student survey. So the students and the parents, it's actually odd. The students and parents survey you, and then they just pull one of your videos randomly from the month, and they evaluate you on an evaluation system of like needs improvement, proficient, or excellent. And they give you comments too. So the feedback and comments are very helpful. So then you can know, oh, this is what I should adjust or change for that next month or the next time.
Now, to contrast that with my experience working for this Chinese company, the evaluation process was a secret. I was not allowed to know what they used to evaluate me. I just got chastised when a class was like marked down. They were like, "Don't improvise, follow the script." I did that. The student said that the class was boring. I got a talking to, and I said, well, can I see the student response? Can I, what was, no, it was just, no, that you need to do better. So I don't know what like VIP Kid and those big companies, but for the company that I worked for, this sounds like miles ahead of the experience that I had being evaluated. Because I didn't want to work for the Chinese to begin with. And then when y'all are telling me you're going to judge me on a system, but I don't know how I'm going to be judged, I was done after that. I was done. I'm looking to see if there are any questions that I missed. You don't teach in Spanish. You're supposed to teach primarily in English, but do they expect you to have some knowledge of Spanish?
I think if you have some basic knowledge, that's great, but it's not really required. So there have been people that I know who have been accepted and their Spanish is lower than mine. So I think for them, if you are able to like understand or have a basic processing of it, and just a cheat sheet sometimes for myself, I will tell the kids, oh, can you write it in the chat? And I'll just kind of copy and paste into Google Translate really quick. I'm like, okay, that's what they're saying. And so even if there's times where I don't understand what the kids are saying and I just do like a little quick Google Translate and it's simple and I just respond to them in English.
Okay. If you are just joining us and you missed the name of the company is Latin Hire. If you go in the chat, I have given Candice's specific link. What this will do is give your application priority. If you're watching this on the replay, I will have her link in the description. And so if you apply going straight to the website, your application gets pushed to the end of the line. If you use Candice's link, they will give you priority review, and that's sooner that you can be making money. Any other questions y'all have about teaching English online, specifically teaching for this company or living in Mexico? I don't want you to leave today without having your question answered. This is a good question. Do you need to be on a PC? Can you use a tablet, a phone?
You need to be on a desktop or laptop. You can't even access the program to teach it on a tablet or a phone. So you have to have like a laptop or a desktop. Yes.
But it can be a Mac or a PC.
Yes, it could be a PC or a Mac. Yes. So I use my work computer and it's a MacBook, but you can use a PC as well.
We're going to pretend that you didn't just say that. But no, that is a good question, Jennifer, because with different English companies, their software that they use for the lesson, I have seen where they're like, no, it must be a PC, or if you're on, you have to have this version of whatever the operating system is for Apple. So no, that was a really good question. Are you expected to simply follow the script? Can you supplement the lesson?
So I mentioned how, say they give you a lesson on time. So today I had a lesson where I was supposed to teach digital and analog clocks. It was awful the first session. So I actually wrote into the teacher report. I said, does anyone have advice? And people were saying, white out the analog part because it's not a part of their standards, and just teach digital because that's what kids are used to. So I literally white out the analog sections. I taught digital for the rest of the time for my other classes, and they flowed so smoothly. So if you want to take away or add more, then it is good, because at the end of the day, they truly care about, are the kids happy? Did the parents say they were happy? And when you get evaluated, did the kids understand as well? So when I was trying to teach analog, the kids were so confused because some of them are not used to those classes.
Yeah, because they've never seen one. And that hurts my heart. When I used to teach high school in Texas, kids would be like, so what time do we get out of class? At the 4? Because they don't know that that's 20 minutes after. If you got a kid who is in the beginner or the intermediate group, do you have to assess them to move up, or somebody else is taking care of that?
So after the session is over, you answer some questions like, oh, do they have any problems? Would you say they were on level or lower or higher? There's some other questions too. And then like, okay, what did they accomplish? So did that child actually meet all the standards? So if they didn't meet a standard, you don't check it. If they did, you do check it. So it's a super simple evaluation process, and we don't have to assess them at all. They are the ones who assess the kids.
That's very nice, because the Chinese company I work for, I had to do that too. And I don't think I got paid for that. Now that I'm thinking about it, that was like outside of my allotted 30 minutes time. Okay. I appreciate you coming on here and talking about doing this. I have another question. Do you think that if somebody was living an American was living in Mexico, do you think that they could support themselves comfortably working for Latin Hire?
I do feel like you can support yourself comfortably working with Latin Hire. I have a lot of coworkers, as I mentioned, who make it their full-time job. They do work the 40 hours a week, and they are able to sustain themselves. And I haven't seen any issues. Like, they actually even enjoy the bonuses because now they get paid more. I think the max, yes, as I mentioned, the max you can make is 40. Well, work is 48 hours. So if you want to work that a max amount, you're definitely good. If you want to work less than that, it could vary. It just depends on your lifestyle as well. So okay. what do you like have to have and do for your lifestyle?
Well, I asked this, and I know that people who teach English face to face here, unless they have private clients, I would not say that they are comfortable. Unless like you want to have 2 or 3 roommates and live that life.
Right.
So this to me seems like, a little bit of best of the both worlds. You make what would be good money here, and it looks like there's minimal like stress and effort on your part.
No. Even thinking about that, if I was to say, for example, quit my main job and work this full time, I would probably make more. But honestly, I'm just going to be honest.
How long have you been working for them?
I've been working with them for now, I want to say about 4 or 5 months.
So you started in 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if they are going to send you a 1099, or is it something like you just need to keep track of what you make?
So honestly, they don't send you 1099s. You have to keep track of it yourself. For them, you have to keep track of your own hours and pay, because that was what I've observed from my coworkers when tax season did come around, because they're like, where's the 1099? There's none.
They were like, no, we don't have that.
Yeah.
One last question before we get out of here. Are the parents in class with the kids?
So they're not supposed to. I have had sessions where the parents literally spoon fed the child the responses, but very rarely are the parents there. Sometimes you might have loud backgrounds. They might have a whole fiesta, or parents are talking in the back, but typically the kids are quiet. They're by themselves, but every once in a while you might have that one parent who feels like they need to sit there with their child.
Charity, so it's teaching online temporary in a sense due to COVID. Do
Mhm.
you mean this particular work she's doing with Latin Higher? Because I can tell you that Mexico is intending to reopen schools, but aren't your students could be from anywhere. They don't have to be from Mexico.
No, my students are from all over. I've had kids from Chile, Colombia, Peru, Argentina. I even have some kids from Haiti. Like I've had kids from Cuba, Haiti, like all over Latin America. I've had kids, so they're not just always just Mexico.
Okay. Okay. I think we are about out of time. Thank you to everybody who joined us live. Thank you to those of you who are watching this in the replay. Part of what I want to do with this YouTube channel is, show people who look like us, living abroad and how we're making it work. So if there is something specific that y'all want to know more about or you would like to see, please feel free to leave that in the comments and we'll see what we can do. Thank you again, Candice. The link to her IG profile will be in the description.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. And I will also put her link for Latin Higher so that if you're interested in teaching for them, you can have your application bumped up to the top. Thank you all for coming and asking such good questions, okay? And I think I might see y'all live next Sunday. We'll see, we'll see.